Welcome in to the 48 Minutes podcast on Believe. I'm Ross Geiger, the former NBA video coordinator, and I'm joined alongside Bruce Bernstein, our four-time Emmy Award winner, who spent more than 3 decades at ESPN producing NBA shows, SportsCenter, and soaking up knowledge from the best 2 panelists in the business. Also joining us is the 2-time Emmy Award winner, Michael Worldby Freer, who's a senior writer at Stat Factor, specializing in writing advanced statistical NBA reports for various announcers across the league. This is episode number 154, the Sandro Mamukelashvili episode, as the Georgian big man has worn number 54 for all 4 of his seasons in the NBA, as he was selected 54th overall in the 2021 NBA draft. Let's also not forget that Sandro found his way onto casual NBA fans' radars this past year on March 19th when he scored 34 points, going 13 of 14 from the floor in just 19 minutes in play at home in a win over Worldby's New York Knicks. So, Worldby, that's 2 shows in a row where you've been honored here in the episode number.
Oh, is that what we're calling it? Honored? All right. That's fine.
Well, let's go ahead and just continue talking about your Knicks, Worldby. They are up 3-1 in the series against the Detroit Pistons after a nail-biter and controversial Game 4 ending in Detroit on Sunday afternoon. I'll start with you to get your initial thoughts into that game and kind of where you see this series headed from here. Do you think the Knicks close it out in 5?
I'll put it this way. After they won Game 3 in Detroit, I felt really good because I didn't see Detroit having to go into New York and win 2 games, which is what they were going to have to do. So now that they've taken another game to go up 3-1, it's really hard for me to see it ending, and seeing the Knicks not be able to pull it out, losing twice at home. I don't see that happening the rest of the way. It was great to, from a Knicks standpoint, the stars came out to play in Game 4. Karl-Anthony Towns was huge. Jalen Brunson was the way he always is, pretty spectacular. So it was great. You're right. It wasn't without controversy. We'll end it right here. It was a foul at the end of the game. I've told you guys, I texted you guys, yes, it was a foul. The only thing I'll say in defense of New York or fans or whatever, that was one of the more physical games you will ever see, with the officials swallowing the whistle the entire game, it seemed like. Mm-hmm. And if you want to go off that, then maybe that wasn't a foul at the end, because they hadn't been calling rougher stuff than that throughout that game. So it was a foul at the end. Tim Hardaway Jr. should be shooting free throws. We all get that. Maybe it's a 2-2 series at this point, but the Pistons really only have themselves to blame. They can't get 2 wins at home, 1 win at 2 games at home. This is why they're in where they're in.
Yep. Bruce, foul or no foul, and then tell us what you think about this series.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, yeah, it was a foul, but here's what really kind of sucks. If that happens at the end of a regular season game, it's like, all right, we lost a game. When it happened at the end of that game, the Pistons lost their season, okay? Because they really did. They would have been 2-2 going home, and now they're 2-2 going back on the road where they had won a game. Now, they're not going to win 3 straight games over the Knicks. The Knicks are too gritty to allow that to happen. So here's my hope. And Worldby, you're going to frown at me when I say this. They deserve to get every 50-50 call tomorrow night in some attempt to try and rectify that situation. But you know what? They're not going to, because they play hard, they play physical, and their reputation preceded them. And Worldby sent us a picture of Karl-Anthony Towns being mugged by a couple guys saying, hey, this is what the Pistons are like, and they didn't call these. So I get that, and you're right, okay? Here's my takeaway from that game, one of my takeaways. Jalen Brunson did a very, very respectable Willis Reed impression. He leaves with an injured leg, towards the end of the third quarter. Then he comes back for the final 10 minutes of the game, and he was absolutely brilliant down the stretch. 15 points, 7 out of 11 shooting, 2 assists, 0 turnovers, plus 11. He scored half of the Knicks' points in the fourth quarter, okay? So bravo to Jalen Brunson. He's a gritty, gutty guy. He typifies what that team is all about. And as for Detroit, look, they earned all kinds of respect this year. Cade Cunningham has been fantastic in this series. He needed a little bit more help, especially from Dennis Schroeder, who had been playing great for those guys, but he kind of went silent in the fourth quarter on Sunday. As you mentioned, Cat was amazing. He was great. I thought it would go 7. It's not going 7. The only way the Pistons even get it to 6 is if they jump out to a huge early lead on Tuesday night. Otherwise, this thing's over in 5.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And real quickly here on Jalen Brunson, he just continues to lead and impress in this first round series. He only trails Giannis, of all players in the NBA playoffs, for most points per game in this NBA's first round playoffs. So quite incredible there. Will be one last follow-up, and then we're going to move on here. But just for kicks, if that was Cade Cunningham taking that shot, do you think they would have called the foul?
No, I don't think who was taking the shot had anything to do with in that situation. It was a crazy sequence where the ball just bounced Tim Hardaway Jr.'s way, and he took the last shot. I don't think who took the shot, at least on Detroit, had anything to do with it. I will also say this: Bruce mentioned about Jalen Brunson getting hurt in that second half during that game on a play that did not have a foul call. There wasn't a whistle on that play either. So it was a rough game all around. Again, it was a foul at the end. There's no way around it. But it's like watching a baseball game and seeing an umpire not give you the high strike all game. And then on 3-2 with the bases loaded down a run, somebody throws a high strike and he doesn't call it. It wasn't a strike in the first inning. It's not a strike in the ninth inning. That's kind of how, if you want to look at it in a most Knicks-like positive way or justify it in any way, that's one way of looking at it. I thought it was a foul, but I am so impressed. Real quick before we move on, I am so impressed with Karl-Anthony Towns. He's not getting it, and he's getting about 50 touches a game, and he's second behind Kawhi Leonard in points per touch. When he gets the ball, it's going in, and he's really making a name for himself in New York playoff basketball with his performance right now. He needs to keep it going, obviously, but right now the only blemish against him is not getting the ball more often.
Yeah, no, I think they need to feed him while he's hot, and that is something that they haven't recognized to the level they need to moving forward against some tougher opponents. Now, speaking of those tougher opponents, Bruce, let's talk about your Boston Celtics, as they are now up 3-1 in their series against the Orlando Magic. And at this point, it's simply a fact. I mean, if the Magic can hold the Celtics under 100 points in the game, they give themselves a chance to win. And they have won those games so far, but that's just been one time. On Sunday, of course, Boston scored 107 and bounced back on the road after a Game 3 loss in Orlando. Bruce, what were your big takeaways from the bounce-back win?
My main takeaway from this series is that Orlando is and has been an ideal first-round opponent for Boston. They're physical. They guard the three-point line really effectively. So it's caused Boston to find other ways to score, which is a big adjustment, and it's still kind of a work in progress for them. But Boston's defense doesn't take a rest. They're always going to be in games. Al Horford was simply amazing on Sunday with 5 block shots. And Peyton Pritchard, okay, you look at the box score and you say, what did he do? He played 26 minutes. He didn't score a point, but he was plus 11 because of his tenacious defense. He is not a lockdown defender by any means. He's a pest who moves his feet, and he is happy to harass any opposing player regardless of their height. And you can ask Paolo and Franz if you don't believe me. I predicted a 5-game series, and I said I would not be shocked if it went 6. Orlando is so much better than a 500 team, and Jamal Mosley has done a great job with this crew despite not having Jalen Suggs, who's such a difference maker. So, Tuesday night should be a 1-2-3 Cancun night for Orlando, but they could be next year's most improved team with Suggs back and possibly a 50-win team. So bravo. I think Orlando won't be winning this series, but boy, did they push Boston.
They did. And you talked about how this is a great experience for the Celtics in the first round. I'd say the same thing for the Orlando Magic moving forward, going up against the defending champs, getting this experience, playing one of the tougher teams in all of the NBA in the first round is only going to make them better next season, and then hopefully come playoff time, they're going to be ready for next year's first round opponent. Jrue Holiday has been ruled out for Game 5. Obviously, the fact that the Celtics are up 3-1 allows him a little bit more time to kind of rest and get ready for round 2. But what are your thoughts on the Celtics right now? And are there any concerns with just how close these games have been with Orlando?
A little bit of a concern, not a tremendous amount, but a little bit of a concern because Orlando is really taking, as Bruce mentioned, really taking them out of what they like to do, and that is shoot the three. They were the only team in the league during the regular season that took more than half their shots from three-point range. This series, it's down around 42%. So it's really, they really, as Bruce mentioned, Orlando has taken Boston out of that style of offense. These are the two slowest paced teams in the league. So it's been a walk up. There's not a lot of fast break, not a lot of up tempo things. So there might be a blueprint to getting to Boston, keep the pace slow, as been the case most of the season, and just guard on the outside and see what Boston can do in the interior or inside the 3-point line. That's not their comfort zone. So we'll see how that works out. Orlando just doesn't have enough offense to really compete, even as well as they played defensively for a lot of this series. They just don't have enough to put the ball in the basket with the guys they have right now. That just makes it really tough.
I'm curious as to whether you guys think that the Knicks have the type of personnel that can do that to Boston on the perimeter. In other words, are they physical enough? Do they have enough perimeter, defenders to stay ahead of Boston's ball movement? Because Orlando has figured out the code, but they also have guys that can play that style. Are the Knicks, I'm curious what both of you guys think. Are the Knicks capable of that or not?
I'll start us off here. I think just how Detroit has set the tone with New York in their first round series, I think that the Knicks are geared up to be physical and will continue to be physical after getting past Detroit and moving on to the second round. So I think if anything, Detroit might have helped New York prepare to be more physical with Boston. And of course, watching that Orlando-Boston film is going to show them, hey, if we're physical, we can disrupt some things for this Boston offense. So I think they can continue to carry it over into the next series with the defending champs. What are your thoughts, Will B?
I don't think New York has enough depth to continue that pace, that style for 7 games. I just don't think they have enough talent. The bench has really not looked good in this series. Deuce McBride, my man in West Virginia, really had a hard time scoring the ball. Cam Payne bailed him out in Game 1, but you haven't heard much from him since. They just don't have. Mitchell Robinson has been okay on the boards, but you're not getting a whole. He doesn't factor into this series, and the Knicks have been getting out rebounded in this series, so it's not as if they've dominated on defense. I don't think Detroit has really shot the ball well enough. Malik Beasley's had a terrible time. Kate Cunningham's had a pretty tough time shooting the ball and turning it over. I don't think the Knicks have it. This doesn't match up, as we saw in the regular season, the Knicks' record against Boston, Cleveland, Oklahoma City. They just don't match up well with the best in the NBA. They just don't have enough talent, I think, to really maintain that.
Yeah, and Bruce, I'll say this too, with Jrue Holiday being out for Game 5, that's been confirmed as of earlier Monday afternoon, but you will need your wardens against Jalen Brunson. I think just having Derek White and Jrue Holiday out there is going to be a pivotal advantage for the Boston Celtics moving forward, having those two guards out there.
Jalen Brunson's going to have to see a lot of different looks. He's just so crafty.
Yeah.
I could see Pritchard on him for a few minutes. I could see Jaylen Brown on him for a few minutes. I could see them throwing the kitchen sink at that guy because it really all kind of starts with him.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy that the both of your teams are up 3-1 in the series. Now we sadly need to talk about the fact that the Indiana Pacers are up 3-1 in their series against my Milwaukee Bucks. On Sunday night, the Pacers completely chopped up the Bucks better than any Wisconsin butcher on both ends of the floor. It was just downright domination from Indiana in this one. And if that wasn't bad news enough for Bucks fans, it was confirmed on Monday afternoon that Damian Lillard did, in fact, tear his Achilles. So he's likely now out for all of next season on top of that. Bruce, what were your initial thoughts just seeing the news of Damian Lillard and, of course, the fact that the Bucks facing reality being down 3-1?
As soon as I heard that Damian Lillard is likely to miss all of next season, the first thing I thought of is how soon before Giannis has to be traded. I was on the radio in Milwaukee the other day with Sparky, our buddy from ESPN Radio in Milwaukee, and I brought up the fact that the way things are going for the Bucks, they should be on the phone to Oklahoma City, who has somewhere between 5 and 14 first-round draft picks in the next 6 years or whatever. They should be saying to OKC, give us one of your bigs, give us Hartenstein, whatever, and a bunch of draft picks and take Giannis. Because really, I can't imagine Giannis being happy on that team when he's got nothing, not even Dame Lillard anymore. I mean, look, against the Pacers, series is over. The Pacers won all 4 quarters on Sunday. I thought it would be longer, but I never thought the Pacers would lose to the Bucks. Indiana just has more of everything: live bodies, depth, rim protection with Miles Turner. Benedict Mathurin didn't even play on Sunday, and he should also sit out Tuesday with the abdominal injury that he has. So if Giannis doesn't score 50 on Tuesday night, there is no chance the Bucks are going to extend the series.
Yeah, I thought much like my analogy with the Orlando Magic, the fact that if they don't score 100 points, they can't beat the Celtics. If Giannis can't score at least 30 plus in a game, there's zero chance that they're going to win a game. And they're going to be riding on Giannis to have a epic performance here to try to keep their dreams alive here and get this series back to Milwaukee. Will be, what's your thoughts on the Pacers and then on the Dame news?
Well, Damian Lillard thing, that's just terrible situation. There's no way around it. You don't want to see anybody go down like that. He worked so hard to get himself back into game shape for this series, and it was really their only chance was to have Lillard playing alongside Giannis. And geez, one game and a quarter in, and that's our 2 games and a quarter in. That's all you get. And now who knows when he'll be back? It's basically right off next season, you would figure, or at the very least, maybe later in the season. I know it cost KD a whole season when it happened in the finals a couple of years ago. So you figure that's about the time frame. And Indiana just suddenly starting to really look like that team we saw in January when they just started winning everything, and their offense and their defense were just among the best in the league. Then it kind of slowed down in February and March a little bit, but they have the personnel to really push anybody that comes forward. And they played the best game of the season, obviously, or best game of the series, I should say. Obviously, the Lillard injury took a lot out of the Bucks, but the Pacers put that game away, as Bruce mentioned, very early, never trailed. They haven't trailed in 2 of their 3 wins. They basically led in their 3 wins. They led all but 3 minutes of those games. So they're just dominating the Bucks. There's just no way around it.
Yeah, big kudos to that Indiana defense as well, as they limited Gary Trent's catches and space on his very limited touches in Game 4. Of course, Trent went off for 37 points in Game 3. He only took 2 shots in the first half in Game 4. So that tells you everything you need to know about how much they locked into that. And then in addition to that, Trent took 2 shots in the first half, and they limited Giannis to 3 and 10 shooting. He only had 8 total points at halftime. So they're really doing it all across the board. Their guards, their forwards, their centers, everybody's on the same page. And even when the Bucks were making shots, it still looked like transition on the other end offensively for Indiana. They just continue to push the ball, and they have the Bucks right on their heels right about now. So not looking good for my Bucks. All right, next up, we've got the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are now up 3-1 in their series against the LA Lakers. So World B, I'll ask you this. LeBron, Luka, and the Lakers, are they dead or alive?
Well, I wouldn't call them alive, but I wouldn't call them dead either.
Okay.
They're in a hole. They're in
on
a
life
tough
support.
hole. All right. But if you have to be down 3-1 in all these series and you're looking for the team that can bounce out of it, I'll take the team that has LeBron and Luka as possible to get. They're just playing a really a team we saw at the end of the season was one of the best teams in the league. At the end, I think they won 15 out of 17 to end the season. And they're just, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they got everybody healthy and they're playing like a team. They had the leader, the star in Anthony Edwards, who, as you mentioned, Ross, time and time again, would like nothing better than it's now starting to get some traction. Ross was over it before anybody else was on it, just for the record. But now it's starting to get some traction about he could take out LeBron and Luka one year after he put away KD So he's looking, he's looking at that. He obviously has that in his sights, and the guys around him, they're starting to gel. Like we thought the Knicks would gel with Cat when the trade was made. We liked it better from the Knicks end. We thought Minnesota was getting something out of it, but they didn't play like it at first, and now they are. And so they have the depth, they have the solid starters, and it's not going to be easy for the Lakers with the Minnesota playing the way they are. But yeah, I'll take my chances with Luka and LeBron.
All right, Bruce, are you buying it? Do they have a pulse?
Yeah, they have a pulse.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The Wolves just wore them down in the final quarter on Sunday. The Lakers were up 10 after 3 quarters, and then the Wolves went 32-19 on them in the fourth. And JJ Redick, has absolutely no confidence in Jackson Hayes anymore. So so Dorian Finney-Smith played big minutes at center, Yeah, and the Lakers only used 5 guys in the entire fourth quarter. Of course you're going to get worn down, okay? But listen, as great as Anthony Edwards was, and he made all the clutch free throws down the stretch, it was our guy, Naz Reid, who did it all in his 4 minutes and 49 seconds of playing time in the fourth. He had 8 points. He was 2 for 2 from downtown. He played some hella defense on Luka on the perimeter, chasing him around on the perimeter, giving him no breathing room. He also assisted on the game-winning shot, the Jaden McDaniels dunk and one that gave Minnesota the lead for good with 39 seconds left. I am now going to nickname him Nuclear Naz because of the damage that he causes out there. And as I mentioned, Jackson Hayes, good luck with your team next year because it isn't going to be the Lakers, I don't think. He played 4 minutes and 21 seconds. He started the game, and then that was it. He never took off his warm-ups again. 2 points and 3 boards. Luka and LeBron, as World Beast said, are always a threat. They did put up numbers, but James was scoreless in the fourth quarter. L.A. gets game 5, I think, to avoid going out at home. But my series prediction of Wolves in 6 is feeling pretty good right about now.
By the way, Bruce mentioned how they Minnesota wore down the Lakers in the fourth quarter the other night. It's not just that particular game. They've owned the fourth quarter in this series. It's like a 36-point edge in the fourth quarter in this series in the 4 games. So they've absolutely dominated. The last 2 games in Minnesota, they were like 10 out of 20 on 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. They haven't missed a free throw in this series in the fourth quarter. They are getting, to Bruce's point, they are getting it done when it counts in that final quarter, which is something you expect would be Luka's time, LeBron's time. But Minnesota's proven we have the depth and we have the talent, and that's our quarter, and they're proving it.
Yeah, they really are. And just one last tidbit on JJ Redick keeping the same 5 players on the court for the entire second half. He became the first coach ever to do so in the play-by-play era of a playoff game. So quite incredible.
Congratulations, JJ.
I would have to assume that has to make Tom Thibodeau a little bit jealous, though, World Beat. Just the fact that he beat him to it.
Yeah, Tom Thibodeau's getting criticized for JJ Redick running all those guys out there in New York. He gets ripped for that one, too.
All right, moving on. Let's get to one of the best series in all of basketball right now, and that is the Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers. They are deadlocked at 2 games apiece heading into Tuesday night's Game 5 matchup. after a wild finish to Game 4, all courtesy to a Joker air ball leading to a right place, right time, unintentional alley-oop finish for Aaron Gordon. Now, I know Aaron Gordon's had some pretty epic dunks throughout his career, but this one immediately has to jump to the top of that list, right, Bruce?
Did Joker get an assist for that, by the way?
I hope not. I hope not.
Look, that dunk on Saturday is going to live in Nuggets lore probably forever, okay?
Yeah.
But here's something I noticed earlier in the game about Aaron Gordon that super impressive to me. I loved how he came to Christian Braun's defense when James Harden took exception to an aggressive foul by Braun just before halftime. That call probably wouldn't even have been made in the Boston-Orlando series, but Gordon sprung into action. He had his teammates back, and that's a guy you want on your side in a battle. And if the Nuggets somehow pull this series out, Gordon is going to be a big reason. He's battled injuries all season long. His brother died during the season, personal tragedy, you name it. In many ways, that guy he's not the best player, obviously. That's Joker. But in many ways, he's kind of like the heartbeat of that team is Aaron Gordon. So, every Nuggets fan loves the guy, and the rest of us should really appreciate him.
And that's a great point, Bruce, because right before Michael Malone's firing in Denver, there were questions about, was this team a cohesive unit? We saw Peyton Watson on the bench arguing with Aaron Gordon. There seemed to be some dysfunction, but then you see something like this in the playoffs where Aaron Gordon comes to the younger Christian Braun's side in a confrontation like that, and it seems like this team has gelled back together and are definitely playing some good basketball right now. World B, what's your thoughts on this series, and how do you think it's going to fare? I mean, now that it's tied 2-2, the Clippers, they've got to at least get one in Denver.
Yeah, they've done it before, so they can do it again. I think this has been a great series. We thought it would be a great series. It's lived up to the hype. Not to be lost in this whole thing from the other night is the fact that Denver really needed to win that game after they blew a 22-point lead and watched LA come all the way back and have a lead in that game. And, Denver pulled it out, and everybody, it was a great finish, a controversial finish, but it also overshadowed the fact that Denver really blew it. LA has owned them the last couple of games in the fourth quarter, doubled them up in scoring. So if Denver can't get that fixed, more competitive in the fourth quarter, LA can absolutely win another game in Denver if they have to, or they absolutely have to if they want to win this series. So it's a 2-2 series. It's very even. Both have a win on the other's home court, and I don't see it ending before 7 games.
All right. Bruce?
So I'd like to say something about James Harden right now as we head into Game 5. Game 5 may be his last great chance for him to play like the Hall of Famer he is when it matters the most. He's never had a monster game we could call the James Harden game in a playoff game of this magnitude. It's now or never for the Beard to have that game. And if he can somehow manage that in Game 5, number one, it'll be like a first. But he has played pretty well, and I'd love to see him pull that off because he's never done it before. He's going to the Hall of Fame. We know that, okay? Yeah. He's an all-time great player. But he's never really had that playoff monster night, and he really kind of needs it in Game 5 in Denver. He's got to be the guy more so than Kawhi Leonard even.
Yeah, great point there. And speaking of Hall of Famers, I mean, of course, this series is getting pretty chippy given the confrontations and technical fouls that have been thrown around in this series so far. And no more than that Game 4. And Russell Westbrook didn't even play in that one. So the fact that Russell wasn't out there and there were that many tees handed out is quite surprising there. 2 other quick tidbits here. Aaron Gordon, that was the first buzzer beater dunk in NBA playoff history, which is quite amazing. I thought at some point someone might have had one before, but that happens to be the first one. And then a little trivia for you both here. Only 3 players in NBA history have recorded 20-plus triple-doubles in the playoffs. Can you name all 3? You guys can just fire some guesses out there.
3. Magic?
That's 1. World B, you got any thoughts?
I'll say Joker.
That's 2. Anyone got the third?
Oscar?
Nope.
Who you got, Ross?
It's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
That leads me to a question that if we have a little time, I wanted to ask you guys.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing left to say about Joker that hasn't been said already. He's probably not going to win the MVP this season, although he could be the MVP every season, all right? We need to start asking, where is this guy when it comes to all-time great centers? I mean, is he top 5? I mean, I think right now you could legitimately say he is the greatest international player of all time. I think he passes Akeem Olajuwon, and he's ahead of Giannis even at this point, I would say. That one's a little closer. But is Jokic like the 3rd or 4th best center of all time? I mean, maybe that's an off-season. Maybe that's an off-season breakdown for us to do after the season's over, and we have a little more time to dive into that one.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think he has to be top 5. And actually misspoke. I had Kareem for a different fact here that I'm not going to get to. It's LeBron James is the 3rd. So I tricked myself into that question there.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we've got the Oklahoma City Thunder, who completed a 4-game sweep over the Memphis Grizzlies on Saturday. OKC now awaits the winner of the Nuggets-Clippers series, which sure seems to be trending to go the distance in that one. I know that we all have this question answered. We'll all have this question answered in due time. But will the long layoff and rest be a pro or a con for this young and hungry Thunder team that is rolling, Bruce?
Whichever team emerges from the Clippers-Nuggets series is going to be at a physical disadvantage in game 1. They'll be tired, but they may have a sharper mental edge for one night because they're going to be coming off, momentum of winning a series. And as you mentioned, the Thunder are kind of like, cooling their heels for a while. OKC is younger and deeper than either possible opponent. They should beat either one of those teams in 6 games. So I think the long layoff might cause the Thunder to be a little bit rusty on offense in game 1, but their defense is going to have all sorts of energy in game 1. So the answer is maybe.
Okay. Will B, can you clarify on that anymore? Is it a pro or a con that Oklahoma City gets this layoff?
Well, on the surface, you would say it's not that big a deal. You welcome the rest after a long season, and they certainly earned the right to take it easy a little bit. Mm-hmm. The fact is, though, I mean, they took care of Memphis fairly handily. Every game wasn't a 51-point blowout like they had in game 1, but they pretty much they had a huge comeback in game 4 to pull that one out. You look at the numbers, Oklahoma City did not have the best offensive series here. They shot really poorly from the perimeter. They really just dominated on the fast break. They were up and down. They ran Memphis off the court. So while it's the rest is good, I would like to have seen them shoot a little bit better in this series to say, okay, they can use a little break here. A long layoff or extended layoff after not having a really great offensive series shooting wise, I wonder, it could catch him maybe for a game or 2.
Yeah. I will say who's going to benefit most from the Thunder with this layoff is going to be Chet Holmgren. Obviously, we know about his foot issues in the past. He's going to have to bang with whoever he plays next. He's either got Joker or Zubac. So rest up, young fella, because the Thunder are going to need you out there and hopefully healthy for the remainder of the playoffs.
If Denver beats the Clippers, it's going to be a battle between the league's top 2 MVP candidates with SGA and Joker, which will be a really good way to try and figure out whoever wins or doesn't win. That will be a fascinating, because really they're so similar, even though they play different positions and they're at different heights, to see how they handle the kind of defense that both opposing teams will play. And as World B Freer will obviously agree with me on, it will also be a matchup between 2 of the very best coaches with Mark Dagnall and Ty Lue, which I think the same thing's going to happen in Cleveland, Indiana with Rick Carlisle and Kenny Atkinson, because coaching comes into play so much more in these playoffs, especially as you get further along. So that'll be a really nice chess match too with those 2 guys.
Yeah, great point there. And last tidbit I'll have, just a little piece of advice for whoever wins the Nuggets-Clippers series is they need to hire John Morant as a special advisor to the team, because on Sunday he told reporters that he had OKC figured out. So, if he were playing, he would have figured them out.
Yeah.
Talk about ending on a high note.
Yeah, exactly. Just go off to the off season. Go on vacation, please.
Yeah, throw a grenade or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Next up, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have swept the Miami Heat. I believe that one is over, but I can safely call that one a final well before we even started taping tonight. Yes, they did win 138-83. I'll start with you on this one. Just given the Game 4 performance from Miami, I mean, what are our thoughts on Heat culture right about now?
The Heat.
You said it all by saying nothing.
Speechless.
There really isn't anything to say. You never want to say a team quit. I think that's a cliche. It's a bad cliche, but they certainly didn't come to play at the same time. In this game, they just, I gave them props in Game 1. They shot the ball well, and in that series, and you have to really hang with Cleveland. And they just, they couldn't shoot enough. So I gave them props for coming to play right out of the gate. But clearly they did not come to play in this series clincher for Cleveland on Monday.
After Saturday's 37-point beatdown, it looked like the Heat were pretty much toast. Even Bam Adebayo in his post-game remarks, he called the game embarrassing. His body language was that of a beaten man. But going into tonight, I thought, Miami's prideful, and they're not going to lose Game 4 by 37 points. So they lost by 55 points. So I was right. They didn't lose by 37 points. Pat Riley is probably right now with Andy Ellisberg in an office somewhere saying, I want this guy gone. I want this guy gone. I want this guy gone. I'll keep Khalil Ware. I'll keep Adebayo. I'll keep Hero. All the rest of those bums can go take. Actually, Davion Mitchell wasn't bad in this series. I liked him. So those 4 guys, everyone else, see ya. I mean, that team's going to look a whole lot different next year, I believe.
How crazy is it? A year ago, Tyler Hero was the piece that everybody wanted. His name was mentioned in trade rumors all over the place in order to give Miami a chance at being a championship contender. You had to give up Tyler Hero. That was the whole deal, and they never pulled the trigger on it. Now he's got to be one of those guys you have to hang on to, because if you don't, what do you have left? They're in a really tough spot now with Butler gone, and you got Bam, who did not have a great year. Let's call it what it was. He did not have a Bam at it, but the first year of his career, he didn't shoot 50% from the field. So they're in this Heat culture thing. We may have seen the end of it.
Yeah. And now focusing and shifting our attention to the Cavs here, of course, they're going to get an extended break, much like the Oklahoma City Thunder. Well, maybe not much of a break if the Pacers take care of business in Game 5. However, I want to point out, just with the forecast for who's coming to play the Cavs next, the Pacers, they're a complete team. They can match up with the Cavs to a certain extent. I know Garland's been out. He's missed the last 2 games for Cleveland. They definitely haven't needed him against Miami, but they're going to need Garland back in that lineup against what the depth that the Pacers bring and the momentum they should be having coming off, a dominating performance over the Bucks. What are your guys' little sneak preview into that series, and what are your thoughts on if the Pacers stand a chance, Bruce?
Oh yeah, the Pacers definitely stand a chance. I mean, look, they've got 6 starting quality level guys, even 7 if you want to throw Obi Toppin in there. I mean, they've got depth. Carlisle uses his bench. He has fresh legs out there most of the time. And Cleveland, I don't know that Cleveland's bench has as many quality guys that can play. Their starters are awesome. Obviously, 64-win team, 14 games up on the Pacers during the regular season. But again, it's the playoffs. The pace changes. The coaching comes more into play. Indiana was playing their best ball at the end of the year. And Cleveland was kind of like, they had things wrapped up so early that they didn't really have to ramp things up down the stretch. Yeah, they beat the crap out of Miami, but Miami was a play-in team that was under 500 during the regular season. So I think that Cleveland, Indiana, I'm not going to make a prediction yet, but I think that'll be a really entertaining series.
World B, what's your thoughts?
I think you saw it in the first round here what Cleveland is all about. They are the best offensive team in the league, one of the best in NBA history. If you want to be, you look at it, the way they shot the ball, they were the best shooting team in the league, and they didn't let up at all the Miami series. I mean, they shot 50% from the field in 3 out of 4 games. They just lit it up from 3-point range. This is what they do. If you're going to beat Cleveland, you better be able to keep up with them offensively. And Indiana should give them a much tougher battle than Miami did. No question about that. Their improved defense should keep them in games. But, Cleveland had 8 players during the season that shot the league average from 3-point range or better. 8 of them. I mean, that was the most in the league. I don't know if anybody else had 4 or 5. They had 8 with at least 200 attempts. They know that's all they do. They just shoot the lights out better than anybody in the league this year. That's why they're my pick to get out of the East, because I don't know if anybody can stop them in the East from stop all these guys from shooting. We haven't even mentioned Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley and all these other guys. We're just talking about everybody can shoot on this team, and it makes it really tough to defend.
I just think that Indiana has the potential to really wear them down. I think they've got the athleticism, the speed. It's gonna be a track meet out there scoring the basketball in this one, unless Indiana cools off. But they've had a wonderful series shooting the basketball, getting any open look they want against the Bucks. Now, obviously, the Bucks defense isn't anything to write home about, but with Tyrese Halliburton handling the point, I think he's going to open up a ton of different looks. They're going to obviously extend Jarrett Allen away from the basket with Miles Turner, who's been shooting the 3-ball well as well. So overall, I think that's going to be one heck of a series, and I'm definitely not overlooking Indiana's chances at surprising some people, extending this series far past 5, maybe even 6 games.
Well, they're going to need Halliburton to be a better player than he's been in this series right now. He's not shot the ball well against the Bucks. Indiana's world got a whole lot better when Tyrese Halliburton played like one of the 5 best players in the league in the second half of the season after the All-Star break. He was lights out from the field, lights out from 3-point range. I've mentioned it. I thought if there was an All-NBA team post-break, he would be on that team. He was that good. He hasn't been that good. He's dishing the ball out, but they're going to need him to put the ball in the basket. They're going to need him to shoot the ball, stretch things out. And you can do that against Cleveland's defense. Cleveland doesn't have the world's best defense. They're good, but they're not, elite, I don't think. And you're going to need your best player to be at his best, and that's Tyrese Halliburton. If he shoots like he did in this first round, I can't see him winning that series.
Yeah, great point.
They're gonna just need to make some shots, because look, while Cleveland's defense, as you said, it's hard to go to the basket against those guys. I mean, you have Allen and you have Mobley, who's the defensive player of the year, right? So that means you got to make mid-range shots, you got to make threes, and they have some guys, Indiana, that can do that. As you mentioned, Turner can pull Allen a little bit away. Nembhard has shown he can make outside shots. Mathurin can make shots. So really, it's like, it's almost like a Boston scenario. They need to make outside shots, including some threes, which we'll see if they can do it, because they're not going to get a whole lot going in the bucket.
Nope, that will be shut down. Now, lastly, we've got Game 4 between the Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors. Just tipped up as we are taping. Scores 20-15 with 3 minutes left in the first quarter. Warriors are up 2-1 in the series. The Dubs took Game 3 at home, 104-93, despite the fact that they didn't have the Jimmy Butler effect, as playoff Jimmy sat this one out due to a pelvis injury. He did return here for Game 4 here tonight. And my question to you, World B, I'll start here. Are the Rockets in trouble? The second seed Rockets, are they in trouble in this first round?
Yeah, I think they have some trouble. the thing I took away from that game 3, and we give him all the grief in the world, but you saw Draymond Green just how good he can be, why he's going to probably be in the Hall of His defense in that game down the stretch was unbelievably strong. He deflected every pass. He was all over the place. Still can't shoot worth a lick. I think he's about 30% shooting for the series, but they haven't needed it. It was really impressive to watch Draymond Green step up and be the defender that we all remember him being, why he was third team in the Defensive Player of the Year voting this year. He was unbelievable, and Steph is Steph and all that. But the Rockets got to be able to shoot. And if they can shoot a little bit, if their best player, Jalen Green, can shoot, he was the key for me in this series. If he can shoot, they can come back and they can win some games. They have so much talent, more than people realize, in terms of really young talent and being able to do it. But they have to be able to shoot the ball better than they're shooting right now. That's just how it is.
Houston, do we have a problem, Bruce?
The Rockets are definitely in trouble. I mean, game 4, obviously, which is underway as we speak, is a must-win game. Losing game 3 when Jimmy Butler didn't even play had to give Golden State just a big-time mental edge over a young Rockets team, knowing that they could win that game even without Jimmy. Houston they wilted down the stretch on Saturday. I mean, look, Gary Payton II, old Mitten, burned him with 11 points in the fourth quarter on 5 of 5 shooting. Jalen Green, as World B mentioned, went scoreless in the fourth. Houston made just 7 out of 21 shots. As you mentioned, Draymond Green spent most of that quarter just disrupting everything that Houston had going on. I had predicted Houston in 6 games, but I may have broken the Rudy Tomjanovich rule by not respecting the heart of a champion as much as I should have with Golden State. We'll see if the Rockets were able to dig deep and extend the series. But, Houston, we have a big problem.
Yeah. And by the way, this is not new. We've seen Houston struggle offensively and shooting-wise, but they're big keys. They're the best offensive rebounding team in the league, and they're showing it again in the playoffs. They're absolutely dominating the glass offensively. The problem is they had 22 second-chance points in game 1. And the last 2 games, I think they have not only did they score just 17 total in second chance points, while still grabbing all these offensive rebounds, they're getting outscored by the Warriors in second chance points. That's your bread and butter. That's what keeps you in games. That's how you pull these things out. And if you can't score off these second chances, it's really tough.
Yeah, and we got a very interesting one going on here as of Monday night between Houston and Golden State. Must win, as you said, Bruce. So I think we should wrap things up so we can get back to this game. So with that will do it for this edition of the 48 Minutes Podcast on Believe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back with you next week to be sure you're up to date in 48 on all things around the association. Take care, everyone.